you ever went on a trip or wanted to go on a trip and you wanted to know more about the area that you were going to visit or going to move in? I do that. It's very important that you do that. Just to know the grounds that you are stepping on. I always tell people there's blood everywhere. There's blood, there's something everywhere. There's something good too. There's good things. There's a lot of good things, but for me mainly, I just want to know. You know, we just want to know. So when I moved to St. Louis, to Ferguson, I wanted to know something. And I found out a lot of things, but one thing stuck with me because I live here. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today on That Doesn't Make Sense, white flight. Okay. According to Wikipedia, white flight or white exodus is a sudden or gradual large-scale migration of white people from areas becoming more racially or ethno-culturally diverse. Starting in the 1950s and 1960s, so during the Civil Rights Movement, the term became more popular. So basically, because I don't want to get into the rest of this, because it's a lot. White flight. So basically, you have areas like, for example, Ferguson, Delwood, Normandy, Hazelwood, Florissant. I gotta make sure I say it right because I always mess it up. Spanish Lake. You have these areas on the North County in St. Louis, Missouri. Because there's other cities involved. There's other Kansas City, Detroit, Cleveland, Oakland. Basically almost everywhere. Everywhere, basically, that you see what you want to call a hood or an area where it's predominantly black and you just want to call it a hood. And it's just an area with black people that live in the suburbs, in the areas that people actually left behind or fought for and lost. And let me get into that for a second. So, these areas were suburban areas and are suburban areas. I always say that they are, and they really are. But I know people who have visited and were very intimidated, and I just didn't see what they seen. It's just a rougher area, superficially, and that's because the people don't take care of their areas. I'm a firm believer of when you live in this neighborhood, it's your neighborhood. So you got to police your neighborhood. You got to take care of your stuff. That's very important, especially as you get older, because ain't nobody raising these young people and they don't got no respect for nothing. So you got to make sure that, you take care of your family, because you got to protect them from them, other people's peoples. So these areas, predominantly white, well, all white, unless somebody I don't think they were doing that yet. Maybe somebody brought a German woman home or something. But the white suburban areas in North County, due to business practices of redlining, mortgage discrimination, and racially restrictive covenants. Okay, so basically, they would low income got in the middle of this, like urban housing, things that help or supposed to help the neighborhood, the people in the neighborhood. So this made whites mad, basically. So basically, blacks could get in the white neighborhoods that the houses were basically You know, I mean, they were empty and they needed to fill these houses. So in order to fill these houses, we're going to sell these houses to the black people. But we're not going to sell these houses to the black people the same price we sell them to the white people. We're going to sell them for more. We're going to sell them enough to where they're going to really have to fight to get out of debt. They're going to be in debt forever. These white folks will have their houses paid off before that black man or that black woman who buys that house. But this is an opportunity to be a homeowner. So a lot of black families decided this is what we want to do. So they took the deal and will move in these neighborhoods. And when they move in these neighborhoods, they would either be, of course, it would probably stop the world. I can imagine. They got a TV series called Them Out, and it depicts it, what I think it would look like. So, they were driving into the neighborhood. They're waving at the neighbors looking at them because they're the only black thing in the neighborhood. I also like when I visit a place, when I'm in a place, I like to count and see if there are any black people there. Yes, I like to know if my people are there. I want to know. I just want to see. I want to see a number. There's no specific reason. I just want to know. So, yeah. So the girl was the girl. So the family was moving into the house. They pulled up to the drive, and the people waved. And it goes to another scene where the ladies of the house are standing outside. Everybody's standing outside their house, and they're playing the radio, sitting in a chair in the middle of the street. Loud music, and the music is very offensive. It's that old, dainty, racist music. Come on, niggers, move, nigger. That's all that. And they were playing it, and everyone was playing their own different song. And it was driving. They were already getting driven crazy because there was something in the house, but they were driving. The outside people were driving them crazy, so they kind of had to stand up. I don't want to. That's a spoiler. I don't want to spoil you. Check out Sneaking in the Movies, and we might do that, and I'll spoil it for you then. But so basically, like I said, so the black families will move in, and white families, the white neighborhood, they would either go through intimidating them, trying to take them to court, violence to defend their space, because they figure this is their neighborhood, not this is my house that I'm paying for. This is my land that I'm probably paying $12,000 for, and that's a steal. And he wants to hate you because you're living across the street. And either he makes, one of the decisions. I want to fight you. I want to get the guys together and tear up in front of your house in the middle of the night. Do all kinds of crazy. So I could be sleeping at home, getting ready for work in the morning, and not worrying about that. But it was a big thing because, like I said, in the human zoo, we were, even back then, even though that was a tribe, Otabango was a slave. He was bought. He was a tribesman. So they brought him from, and they had, free black men and women in the 1900s walking around. They just weren't going to the zoos and stuff like that. So their theory is like we were animals back then. This is back then too. Let me stress that this is back then. I don't know. No, I know that some people think that that's true, but that's not true, and it's just not true. Like I could look it up and show you like several places. It's not okay, but because we're all the same. We're all the same. That's just the way it is. We're just different in other ways. It's personalities, how we're raised, somehow how we're raised, or the things that we were taught, or the things that, and that's everybody. The things that we were taught, the things that we've seen affect us in our regular life. So we're expressing that in our adult life. That's why we have this stuff that's going on now, where everybody wants to be so expressive and stop you from living your life because you said something that hurt my feelings, and I'm really upset about that. But when is that going too far? Isn't it going too far now? Like, comedians can't be comedians. I don't like that. People, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. Your point just matters. That's baloney to me. What about the facts? But anyway, so these families don't agree with what's going on, so they decide to move out. So all these neighborhoods that are suburban areas, automatically, since the white people moved out, are urban areas. When the urban areas are the areas that are closest to the city. So there are urban areas in St. Louis, and some of them, I have. A lot of them are run down, and there's a lot of rebuilding going on. So there's a lot of love being done to the urban areas, and the urban areas are beautiful. The suburban areas are beautiful too, but the suburban areas don't match up to the other areas like Chesterfield, the other counties. Chesterfield, St. Peter, even though St. Peter and St. Charles are a little wild too. But historically, right here in St. Louis, a lot of things have happened. They used to have auctions. They had a riot down here, like in the 1950s. The 1950s or the 1920s. I can't remember which one. It's the East St. Louis riots. And they killed hundreds of people, hundreds of black people. They came into the city. Angry white men came into the city and destroyed, burned, shot, and the police were told not to do anything, and they did nothing. So people are moving out of bad areas or trying to get into another place, and they're being pushed out, and plus they signed a deal that they may have to bleed for just to get out of because of bad business practices. Bad business practices. Things that probably still go on in this world. We just don't read the fine print. Bad business practices. I notice a lot of things when I read. There's a book I'm reading. I wish I could find it. It's a book called They Don't Want Me to Talk About Slavery, and it's people in Virginia, ex-slaves in 1932, in the 1930s and 1940s, and they're being, they're like 80, 90, 100, and they're being interviewed. So they're talking about how they would have to get up early in the morning, and they would work hard in the field all day, all night, barely get something to eat. And they always seem so humble and happy, just the way they talk, because they older now, they're just talking about something in the past. I'm sure it was horrible, it was hard, and they had to do it every day, and they weren't allowed to get off the property. And so some of them would sneak off the property, and they would talk about this thing. Oh, I gotta come. Oh, man. I'm tripping. I'm not even gonna talk to y'all about that. We're gonna get that in a later one. So they come and catch the slaves. It's a paddy wagon, basically. And take them. They master take them, catch them, whip them, then send them out. And they do, they probably take a chance of doing it again just to get out a little way. So that's not all. There were some good masters. There were some that were have you in the house and you're just there to take care of the kids. Some of them wanted you to do more than just take care of the kids. Some of them, they want them to breastfeed and other things like that. Like it's a lot of weird things within slavery history that's like I look at it and I'm like, wow, like I don't understand the term. I always heard, even through some of the movies I watched, lazy nigger, that term. I just don't understand. I don't understand lazy people. And so this is my belief as a 43-year-old black man. So the color of your skin doesn't matter. It's the content of your character. We was taught that anyway. Martin Luther King tried to put that out there, but people forgot or just don't care. They're not soaking that in. That was game. That was free game. That was for you. So I don't understand if you get hired for a job and I get hired for a job, why you can't do your work. Do your work. I'm going to work my job. This is my job. I'm going to do my job. You do your job. I worked with people who have harassed me just because they didn't like me. And they just needed to just tell me they don't like me. But no, they kept that face on. And, I still don't have any hate for them. I pray for them. That's what you do. You have to pray for people. God has a better way. He really does. So, whitewash didn't just happen. Actually, it happened throughout the whole St. Louis area. A lot of St. Louis area. And a lot of other racial tension has happened in St. Louis. I'm actually going to start looking more into things because I can get out now. Well, not right now because it's a light flurry, ice on the ground, and I don't want to slip and slide out here. These people drive crazy. These people drive crazy in this world, but right here, where I am, so if you ever been to Norway, not the country, I'm talking about here in Missouri, in St. Louis County, North County, Normandy. I said Norway, Normandy. It's a bunch of mansions. It's beautiful. I pulled up to go fix a lady's window, and she actually was a black lady. And yeah, I look for that too. Like, hey, let it be a black. Let it be a black man, black. Come on. One of us. Yes, I am that one. And when it is, I'm happy. And they can see it and I can see it. So, where was I? St. Louis. So the whitewash. So these people usually went to other cities when they couldn't stay where they were, or where they didn't, because they didn't want to stay where they were. A lot of them didn't move. Like, a lot of them didn't want to leave, and a lot of them didn't have problems with it. Well, not a lot of them, but a majority of them. There were some white people that did not want to leave their areas, their homes, and they didn't have any problem with their kids playing with the other kids, but their neighbors did, or their friends did. So, well, there's a lot of, when I look at racism and I look at the stuff that's happened in these times, I do think about that. I put that into consideration. They don't put that out there a lot, And I feel like that needs to be addressed sometimes, because I feel like we're being transformed into, as black people, as people of color, we're being transformed into being angry. I think they want us to be angry. And when I say us, I mean when I say us, when I say they, I mean those same people who have those beliefs. Just in case there's somebody out there that wants to know, what does he mean? They think. I mean the people who have been trying to persecute and continue to, who are part of profiteering off of black people getting hurt, getting killed. We also need to address black on black, because those people are part of that problem too, regardless if they're profiting off of it or if we don't kill people. We're not supposed to do that to each other. We're not made for that. We're made for servitude. And I think sometimes people get it mixed up. We're supposed to serve the Lord, but we're supposed to also serve each other and take care of each other. I'm going to continue to say that on this podcast. I just like saying it because I feel like it's real, because I feel it in my heart, and that's where I'm going. So, we got to serve each other. We got to treat each other right. And if there's somebody out there that's not going to treat you right, then, you pray for them and then you distance yourself. You don't want to be around that toxicity. You got to keep moving, and you got to take care of you. But, you got to let that go. So we move. I see on this map, the red is the expansion of the mixture of blacks in white neighborhoods, and they talk about the property value goes down, and the houses dilapidate, or the neighborhoods get worse with violence, street violence. And let me before anyone says, "Oh yeah, that's because the black people moved in." No, that's not because the black people moved in. Okay, so picture this. Picture sitting at home and something's thrown at your window, or you hear somebody yelling, or you look out the window and people are just staring out there. Every time you go outside, somebody has something to say because of the color of your skin or because you're in their neighborhood, and you can't say anything, because if you do, so much can happen. But when you finally do, or something happens to one of them, something ends up missing off their yard, or if the police officer decides to drive down the street, and yes, I said police. Okay, so let me talk to you about the police. Let me jump that subject and jump to the police subject. I'm a firm believer of the police department. If you are there with good intentions, you have to know a very good extent of the law and still be open to learn more. You have to have self-control. You have to have knowledge. You can't go to the police thinking that you're going to go and shoot your first person or anything like that. No. If that's your intent, if you're there to create a gang that kills people and keeps silent, and no, you're in the wrong field. The police were basically created to pick up slaves any old way. Like in the beginning, the police would pick up the police that were people in the neighborhood that were sent out to catch the slave that was escaping or drive around. If they see any black people, you ain't supposed to be walking around by yourself any old way if you're black. So they would catch you, take you back to your master, let that master beat you, and then whatever he do to you, he do to you. But so, like I said, the people will call the police, and then that's it. He's stealing this, or he's playing with my kid. He's this. And then people will get tired, or people just continue to call and pester. Police will pester people and harass people. Eventually, those neighborhoods, and then This is the 1950s, 60s, 70s. One of these eras has the crack. So, like, a lot of things have been added into these areas and have made them what they are now. Like Watts and all the other places that I haven't named off in California. You know? So whitewash. You hear that crack? Change. So whitewash. I that just doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like instead of moving out, and that's, I mean, they were back in the 50s, 60s, 40s, 30s, 20s. You know, you gotta just understand that these people were what they. If you were that way that they were in the 1940s, your beliefs are really strong like that, or strong at all, or feeling like that, whether you're black or white. Because if you look at this and you say, "Oh, well, if this happened the other way, that would be even better." No, it shouldn't have happened at all throughout history. We weren't supposed to do that. Nobody was supposed to do that to each other. It started from battles, unnecessary battles, taking over someone else's land, and then what to do with the collateral damage, meaning the slaves, the people that were conquered. So I think that they should have stayed. They could have stayed. They could have got to know someone and speak to them. Maybe if you felt the way you felt, I don't want my daughter being with no black man, then you tell your daughter you don't want her being no black man. But get to know that person. I've got to know many of people. I got to know a guy at Worlds of Fun when I was a kid. We were at the wave pool and we bumped into each other, and he turned around and, like, real fast, like the wave turned him around, and the wave pool is like this, it's a wave pool. You know what a wave pool is. If you have been to a wave pool, look it up. So it wasn't really going, it was really low, and me and the guy were talking, just cracking on people. He's laughing at fat ladies, talking about people in tiny bikinis and they too big, some dude in some kind of Speedo. He's just cracking on people. And I looked at his arm and he had, KKK. He had white power. He had all that stuff on him, right? So he looked like he was an older dude. Like, he looked like he was about in his 60s, 70s. He looked like a hippie dude. He's real cool. He's like, oh, you see that? Oh, man, don't worry about that. That's a past, man. That has nothing to do with me. And we didn't talk about that. I didn't care. I never spoke on it. I just looked at it, and he noticed I looked at it. Yeah, I've seen that. I wasn't nervous. I didn't hate him for it. Sometimes those people join those things because their parents and their family has influenced them, and it's either that or they're going to disown them. There are Caucasian people whose family have disowned them because of the decisions they made of being with someone of color. You probably, if you racist, you probably saying, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. The person's color don't mean nothing. It irritates me sometimes when people enjoy the athletes and the things that African American people bring and have always brought to the table, even before TV. The things that we have done throughout history as a people, as African people, as black people, as people of color. Not even just as black people, as people of all colors. Because, of according to Darwin, everybody's below the European man, the Euro American. That's weird. That just doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm not saying it right, but I don't know. So maybe I'm just gonna leave this here for you to think about that, because white flight, white exodus. Where are you? What city do you live in? Have you looked up the white flight chart? I think that's a chart. You can look that up online and you can find out if your area that you lived in has had or used to live in experienced some form of white flight. If you lived in an area that they call the ghetto, it might not actually be the ghetto. It might not actually be the hood. You might actually be in the suburbs, and they might be fooling you and continually letting you and leading you destroy your own area. And it is your area because you won it fair and square, because your family, souls and blood are invested in the houses because they died in debt due to the bad business practices during that day, those times. That's horrible. Just the bad business practices and just tricking and fooling people. And there are people who probably lived here who probably are still paying their family's debt from the beginning. These were suburban areas. Now they're predominantly non-white suburban areas. But there are, like I said, a lot of whites that live in these areas. Actually, we have a lot of ethnicities in this area. This is a very multicultural place. It's so funny, the familiarity to like certain areas in California there are to certain areas in St. Louis, and the diversity in the areas. But what I've noticed in the areas are areas where I wondered when I moved in if there was an area like the Plaza. See, the Plaza in Kansas City is historically a whites only outside mall. So only white people could go to this place. And it's an area that actually they built this floodgate. So if the water got too full, it would have to release. Well, one day, it released. And it ain't never handled as much water as it was getting. And they let it all out. And when it all came out and it killed people. It went over bridges, took cars off of bridges. Like, it was bad. It was bad. It was high. It was bad. So, this area has went through a lot of, it's an area predominantly owned by Reese Nichols, who's the founder was Reese Nichols. And he was a racist. He didn't want you shopping in the Plaza. He'd be spinning in his grave right now, or he might get over it, or he might be burning in hell. Who knows? But Reese Nichols owned this area of the Plaza. I wanted to move there when I got out of basic training, buy a house. It was really hard. I didn't have the right credit, but I didn't have the right person looking out for me to move into one of those houses out there, which was really hard for a black man at the time. Back in it's like 2006, 7. It was still hard. You think 2000, like, dang, that wasn't far away. It wasn't far away. Like, if you think historically, think about all the stuff that's happened throughout history, the people who we've lost. That wasn't too long ago. I was born in the 70s, 78. And we lost people before 78, but we lost a lot of people after 78, or we lost a few. We lost some things, but we gained areas. You gain areas. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to take care of those areas. So important. It's important that you learn about where you are, and then once you find out about where you are, you get involved. Get involved in your area. You know what I hate? I hate when I drive down the street, somebody stops at a stop sign or a stoplight and just totally empties their trash out in the street. But then those same people would go all the way out to Chesterfield or these other suburban, white suburban areas, and they would complain because it looks so nice and their area looks like crap. You got to take care of your area. This is not the hood. So let's not treat these areas like they are the hood. They are not. They are nice streets. We need funding. We need help. We need workers. People need to get off their butts and quit relying on stuff. That's not how we supposed to be. We moving backwards. That's the part of history you need to learn. It's important that you learn history because you don't want to make the same mistakes that your ancestors made. You don't want to fall for the same trap that's been out there. They just call it another thing, or they give it away in another way, another means, another form. Open your eyes. Wake up. This is Michael Porter ending this one episode, not the whole thing. On That Doesn't Make Sense. Good night.